What's up, guys? Zach Dixon from Players Lunch here. Today, I want to take my LinkedIn game up a notch and start making just some videos because I've been enjoying writing some heartfelt posts. And today I have one I really wanted to share. I've been thinking about this for a long time. So every once in a while, I wake up in a cold sweat because I have a nightmare about the day that I got fired from my first job. I could sense that day that something was off. My boss didn't want to make eye contact with me, and when he asked me to join him in a conference room at the end of the day, I knew the jig was up. I was going to get canned. So I was making $40,000 a year. This was my first job out of college in a post-recession economy in 2012, 2013. And that year I learned how to pay rent, how to pay bills, and even how to have some money left over to spend on drugs and alcohol. I didn't learn how to save any money, and I didn't learn how to deal with an abusive boss. And my boss at that job would humiliate me openly in front of the entire company at our company's open office plan. He would not CC me on parts of a project. And then when I would ask him about it, I would say, I don't know. And then he would say, how do you not know this? This is your job to know this. And he would say it like just below a yell, but definitely at a scold. And I would just have to sit there and tuck my tail between my legs because this guy, one of his immediate family members, was responsible for bringing, an immense amount of revenue to that company. So he brought in big contracts, and he had the big New York nepotist, untouchable glow on him. And I was an entry-level marketing employee who was just cannon fodder. So there was absolutely nothing I could do. I tried to switch teams internally. I tried getting other people internally to take me onto their teams. I tried everything, but at the end of the day, I got fired. He churned through another entry-level employee, and the world, kept spinning. But what really set me off is that day that he fired me, when he told me that day would be my last day. I laughed incredulously, and I said that I couldn't believe it. I was stunned. And he complimented me, and he said that I was really good at, quote, handling brand ambassadors, which are like the people that we hired at this marketing company to do menial labor. And that was the only compliment he gave me, and I was incredibly offended because I'd worked hard. I deserved to get fired. I wasn't a good employee at this job, especially when your boss is a dick. But I'd had enough. I tucked my tail between my legs for a year, and I figured, you know what? I'm getting fired, and this guy needs to know how I feel. And so I held back my tears and my rage and my wrath, and I calmly said, this is fine. I'm okay, but I need you to know that you humiliated me, that you made me feel like less than a man at this job, and that I can get along with just about everyone. And you really, really hurt my feelings as a person. And it was the only time that I saw a flash of empathy in his eyes outside of the time that I asked him if I could take a day off to walk my mom down the aisle at her wedding. So I will remember that feeling on my fucking deathbed. I will remember what it felt like to be wrongly and publicly shamed in front of your colleagues and contemporaries. I will always remember how brutal that year was, how much I hated my life and my job. And I will always treat colleagues as nothing other than equals or esteemed pupils as a result. Now, I wish that I could say that there was a good moral to this story. And I was having dinner with one of my colleagues who sat next to me at that job. And he asked me how I felt about this guy. And you know what? I still hate him. I still resent this guy. 5.5 years later, I have dreams every once in a while where I tell the guy off. And the moral to the story, the real moral to the story, is that unemployment pays you $400 a week in New York State. My job that paid me $40,000 a year after taxes paid me $550 a week in New York State. So after I got out of a righteous, cathartic bender filled with drugs and alcohol, I got my first unemployment check, and I realized, holy shit, I worked 0 hours this week in unemployment, and I made like 80% of what I was making at that job. So the moral of the story is, why the fuck didn't I get fired earlier? That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that story.